No?
Remember after time goes night.
I want to watch Elmo.
Do you want to watch Abba on TV right now?
All right.
Okay, then we should go upstairs. You want me to read this time? Let's go to the next page. That's right.
You guys don't want to come say hi to everyone?
You don't want to go say hi to the show?
Say hi. People are watching you.
Hi.
Say hi.
Do you want to go say hi to the show?
Tanya, do you want to come say hi?
Hi, Sean.
So what happens when you have shul from home?
Come.
All right, come, Tanya.
Wow, you almost knocked to me.
Say hi.
Hi. Hi. Hi. It's me.
It's you.
It's me and you. And
All right. I think we'll give everyone one more minute over here,
I.
just to sign up.
What you doing?
Hopefully, we'll get a few more people. We're gonna have a shul on the computer. Okay.
Oh. Talk.
Okay. Wait 1 second. So,
Are they talking to you?
no, that's. Anyone that wants, you can comment on the side over here, so we can have. Okay, what are we gonna do? We're gonna say a few Tehillim in just a minute when a few more people get on, and then we'll learn a little something related to halachas and epidemics. I'm just giving everyone a minute or two to get on here. All right. Wait. What are you doing?
I'm getting
Oh,
on.
you're getting on here? Okay. All right.
Oh, this is not no.
Okay. All right. You good? All right. I think let's get started. We have not too many people are on here right now, but maybe they'll come and maybe they won't. All right. First of all, thank you. Oh, all right. A few more people are joining us. All right. Thank you to Moshe Ben David for setting this up and showing me how to do this. This is we're doing YouTube instead of other social media websites because it's everyone can participate, even if you don't have Facebook or even if you don't have Facebook or Zoom. The only problem is that it's harder for people to participate to say things. So, but on the side, you do have a way you can write anything in. So any thoughts people have while we're learning, please write in for us, and we can have a conversation. And if we want to move to some other website, we can. All right. Let's say a few Tehillim together because we're not obviously able to meet in the shul. We'll just say some of the. Wait, guys, you need to be a little quiet. We'll say some of the Tehillim that the people generally say when someone is sick or. All right, guys, you guys are gonna have to go somewhere else.
No.
Okay, then you need to sit here quietly. Sorry. All right.
I'm not going.
All right, let's start with Tehillim number 20, Psalm 20. All right, this is, again, one of the Tehillim that we usually say when someone is sick or when the Jewish people are in danger. So let's start with this. Lamnatseach mizmor leDavid Ya'ancha Adonai b'yom tzara Yisagevcha Hashem Elohei Yaakov Yishlach Ezracha mikodesh umitzion Yisadeka Yizkor kol minchasecha V'olascha yidash nasela Yitein lecha kelavavecha V'chol atzascha yimalei Nirani nabishasecha V'shem Eloheinu nidgol Yimalei Adonai kol mishalosecha Ate yadati Ki Hoshia Adonai mishicho Ya'aneu mishmei kadsho B'gvuros Yesha yamino Eila barecha Ve'eila basusim V'anachnu b'shem Adonai Eloheinu nazkir Hema karu v'nafalo V'anachnu kamnu v'nisodad Adonai Hoshia Melech Yanenu b'yom kareinu. All right, let's go to I think it's 121. Let's go to Tehillim 121. And also we'll say that again wherever we are, but we'll say it together from our homes. So. All right, Tehillim number 121. Shir la ma'alos asai nayel ha'ari me'ayin yavo ezri Ezri me'im Adonai oseh shamayim va'aretz al yiten lamot raglecha al yanum shamrecha hine lo yanum lo yishan shomer Yisrael Adonai shamrecha Adonai tzilcha al yad yaminecha Yomam hashemesh lo yakeka v'yareach b'alayla Adonai yishmarcha mikol ra yishmar es nafshecha Adonai yishmar tzeitzcha v'o'echa me'ata v'ad olam. Okay, let's just, again, we're just saying some of the more famous ones. Let's say number 130, and then we'll say 142. Let's say Tehillim number 130, Kuf Lamed. Shir ha'ma'alos mima makim karasicha Adonai, Adonai shema b'koli, tihiena oznecha kashuvos l'kol tachanunai, im avonos tishmarya Adonai mi ya'amod, ki imecha slicha leman tivarei, Kivisi Adonai kivsa nafshi v'lidvaro hochalti nafshi l'Adonai mishamrim laboker shamrim laboker Yachel Yisrael al Adonai ki im Adonai achesed v'arbei imo fidus v'hu yiftes Yisrael mikol avonosav. Okay, let's say one more. Number 142, Kuf Mem Beis. Maskil David b'hiyoso b'ma'ara sefila koli al Adonai azak koli al Adonai eschanan eshpoch lefanav sichi tzarasi lefanav agid b'hisatef alai ruchi v'ato yadata nesivasi b'orach zu ahalech tamnu fachli habeit yaminu re'eh ve'en li makir avad manos mimeni ein doresh lenafshi za'akti elecha Adonai amarti ata machsi Chelki v'aretz ha'chaim, akshiv el rinasi ki dalosi mod, hatileni meirod fai ki amtzu mimeni, hotzia mimasker nafshi lohodos hashemecha, v'yachtiru tzadikim ki sigmol alai. All right, we'll learn a little bit over here. Hopefully those Tehillim will reach God, and we'll have some salvation over here from this. Again, thank you to Moshe. We have the full davening from home experience with Aiden's faces there. All right, we're using this website. We're experimenting a little, so we'll see what works for us in the coming weeks. You are able to participate by writing something on the side over here, and we'll try to have a conversation. I'll certainly respond to anything that anyone writes in over here. You can give me feedback after. If we want to go to a different website, we can go to Zoom. We can try other things. All right. I wanted to learn a little bit over here we're obviously in the middle of a difficult time period. There's a lot of illness in the air spreading around. We're in an epidemic, and the doctors, the scientists think it's going to get worse. And one of the things that we can do that might bring some comfort is to study historically how great Torah leaders dealt with this. And it just reminds us that we're not the first community to have this. Okay, we can do Tehillim slower next time. It's a reminder that we're not the first community to be stuck in our homes, afraid of what's coming up and what might happen. And also that we do have the guidance from our history. So I want to just now focus on one of our greatest leaders, Rav Yisrael Salanter, who was also very, very well known for how he responded to epidemics. He lived some of the years that he was most active were the cholera epidemic. And I looked this up before. I think it went from 1846 to 1860, it's somewhere around those years. It was a very long epidemic. It sort of went back and forth between Europe and Asia, and many, many, many people lost their lives, unfortunately, during that time. So Rav Yisrael Salanter dealt with this. For many years, he was involved in various issues having to do with epidemics, and he ended up, giving a lot of halachic rulings on this. So I want to tell you a little bit the story from the chapter 11 of the book Tnuas HaMusar by Rav Dov Katz. It's the first volume is a sort of biography of Rav Yisrael Salanter. And so I want to go through some of how he tells the story in chapter 11, and then focus in on some of Rav Yisrael's halachic rulings. He tells us a story over here that when this cholera epidemic began in Vilna, so Rav Yisrael Salanter was at that time a younger man. He hadn't really been involved in communal affairs very much. But he felt very, very strongly that rabbis were not there just to be, spiritual leaders or involved with halacha or davening or other things, but that the rabbis really have to take, be on the front lines of trying to help heal these ill people that were suffering, people whose lives were in danger. And this was what he did. He gathered his students together. He did not believe that they should just be sitting there and studying at this time, but he really encouraged them to help as much as they can. Even when there was some danger to them, he pushed them to get involved and to try to help save lives as much as they could. Now, in keeping with the general halacha that we know, Rav Yisrael Salanter was very, very clear that the laws of Shabbos, the laws of kosher, all of that we should violate in order to save lives. Right? All of those rules get pushed off when it comes to saving lives, and he was very, very strongly adamant that anyone whose lives were in danger because of kosher and because of the laws of Shabbos needed to violate those rules. In addition to that, Rav Dov Katz says that Rav Yisrael Salanter would warn everybody that they have to listen to the doctors. All right, I'll read you a little bit. He says, "Hu hayamazhir asakal sheyishmu b'atzas harofim." He used to tell the community that they must listen to the doctors. Basher zuhi gam chovas haTorah, because that is the rule of the Torah. That's the halacha. V'hichmir bezeh kol kach ad shehotziu kruz. He was so strict. He was so adamant that people need to listen to doctors that the doctors, at one point, the doctor said people shouldn't eat fish. And Rabbi Yisrael said, Kol ha'ochel dagim ka'ochel chazir. He said that anyone who eats fish against the doctor's orders, it's as if they're eating pork. So this was how adamant, this is how strict he was over here, that everyone needs to follow everything the doctors are saying. And anything the doctors tell you not to do is totally prohibited according to the Torah. He says that a guy by the name of Rav Yitzchak asked Rav Yisrael Salanter that every week he has fish on Shabbos. And again, Rav Yisrael Salanter told him that if he's going to buy fish during the epidemic, he might as well buy pork. So Rav Yisrael was totally convinced that under halacha, we have to listen to the doctors. Now, there's a very dramatic story which he tells over here. And this is a famous story, so you might have heard it before. But when it came to Yom Kippur of that year, so there was a question whether people should fast. And the rabbis in Vilna, and again, Rabbi Yisrael Salanter was not an official rabbi. He was just, sort of a layman, obviously a very knowledgeable layman, but he wasn't an official rabbi. The rabbis in Vilna did not tell people that they should eat. All right, they felt that each person needs to make their own decision whether they're ill or not. But Rabbi Yisrael disagreed with this approach very strongly, and he was adamant. He spread throughout all of Vilna that everyone needs to eat on Yom Kippur. Nobody's allowed to fast. And so much so that he actually put up signs outside all of the shuls, and on the signs he said, "Lo lehitanot biyom hakadosh v'hanora hazeh." He said, "Don't fast on Yom Kippur." Lekatzer b'piyutim, don't daven so much, make it short davening. Lalechet letayel bechutzot ha'ir, you should go take a walk. Leruach hayom u'loshia ishas re'ehu bekorach u'vekesef u've'etza. Right, in other words, to make sure you get fresh air so that everyone will be in the best of health and strong. Now, so he put up these signs all over Vilna telling people to eat. And even more than that, he was afraid that people wouldn't listen to him, right? Imagine how difficult it is to eat on Yom Kippur when you feel totally healthy. At the end of the Shachris, on Yom Kippur morning, Rabbi Yisrael Salanter got up on the bima, he got up in front of everybody. He took out wine and cake, made kiddush, and he ate right there. So this is a very dramatic story. It's a very famous story. But he ate on Yom Kippur and made kiddush in front of the whole shul. And he goes on to say that everyone was shocked by what he did. He wasn't one of the rabbis in Vilna. One of the people in the community called out, "Don't we have rabbis in Vilna who can rule on this? Why are you getting in the middle of this?" And then not only that, but he says that the Zaken Hadayanim Shebevilna, Rabbi Betzalel, the oldest of all the rabbis in Vilna, Rabbi Betzalel, got up and he publicly said that the Dayanim, the rabbis of Vilna, do not approve of this. and they don't believe that everyone should be eating, but rather each person should make their own decision in consultation with their doctor. But even though there was so much opposition to what Rav Yisrael Salanter did, he says that Rav Yisrael Salanter insisted on his position, and he says, "V'lo zaz misham ad shekol mitpalelei Beit HaKnesset alu al habama echad v'asa kamoso." Rav Yisrael Salanter would not leave the shul until each person in the shul came up and ate on Yom Kippur. And he says that from there, Rabbi Yisrael went to all the other shuls in town, and he insisted that everybody eat. So this is a very, very dramatic story over here, obviously. Rabbi Yisrael Salanter was so adamant that everyone in Vilna needs to eat that he would not even allow them to make this choice on their own. And he insisted, he went from shul to shul, forcing everybody to eat. Meanwhile, the establishment rabbinate in Vilna disagreed with this approach. Now, I want to share with you, there's a contemporary rabbi in Israel named Rav Moshe Sternbach, a fairly well-known rabbi. And he explains, very, very interesting, he explains what was the debate here between Rabbi Yisrael Salanter and the Dayanim, between the other rabbis in Vilna. And he explains it as follows. He says that the rabbis in Vilna, the establishment rabbis, they believed that when you have a communal health situation, a health to the communal threat, that each person needs to make their own decision. Right? That's the way we always do it, right? We don't say that because there's one or two sick people on Yom Kippur, that the whole shul should eat, right? Everyone makes their own decision in consultation with their own doctor. So the rabbis in Vilna believe that even when you have an epidemic, it works the same way. Each person needs to make their own decision. But Rav Yisrael Salanter, he says that what he believed halachically was that when you have a threat, which is a health threat to the entire community, then we don't even allow anyone to make their own decision. In other words, even if 5% of the community is threatened, or let's say 2% of the community is threatened, still, we have to, everyone in the community has to act as if they're sick. And the reason for that, Rav Sternbach explains, is because if we allow people to choose, then we might have some people who might, decide to be a little more strict and act in a way which would threaten their health. So Rabbi Yisrael Salanter believed that we have to shut down the whole community effectively, or we have to force everyone to eat on Yom Kippur in order to protect even those few people whose lives might be threatened. And I'll just apply it to our current situation. We have a situation nowadays, right now, where, again, not everyone in the shul's lives are threatened, right? You have whatever percentage it is of people whose health and lives are threatened. So this would be the same debate between the rabbis in Vilna and Rabbi Yisrael Salanter. The other rabbis in Vilna would say, don't close down the whole shul. Maybe you could send out a message saying anyone, who's older or has respiratory problems shouldn't come to shul. But people who are healthy and are not going to be threatened by this, they are allowed to come to shul. That would be the approach of the rabbis in Vilna. But Rabbi Yisrael Salanter's approach, and it just seems to me like most communities in America are following this approach, and in Israel are also following this approach. Rabbi Yisrael Salanter's halachic ruling was that if even a small minority of the community is threatened by this, then the whole community needs to shut down. And that is why we have chosen, along with many other communities, to close our shul right now, in keeping with Rabbi Yisrael Salanter's ruling, to make sure that everyone will be kept healthy. Let me end over here. I just want to end with I want to read one paragraph from Rabbi Yisrael Salanter's own letters. And this is a few years after the story we just talked about, where he forced everyone to eat on Yom Kippur. And again, he's writing about how to act in the epidemic. And this is a very remarkable paragraph. It comes from his letter 22 in Or Yisrael, his letters. And he says the following. He says, "Ulazos l'kol eis l'kol chayfetz zman." He's talking about mourning. And he says we always have to take into account the time that we're in. He says that nowadays, when we are in the midst of an epidemic, Zos Toras ha'adam b'zeh seichal ha'yasher. He says the proper way to behave is libli lifchod mimena me'uma. We shouldn't be afraid. In other words, being afraid is just creates more problems. It creates more health concerns. We shouldn't be afraid. He says that we never even know, and this is a theme of his, which is for a subject for another time. But one of his themes is that we never know whether dying is better for a person than living, because maybe it prevents them from sinning. It allows them to be rewarded in the next world. It's sort of a radical idea he has, which others disagree with, but that's one of his themes. So he says that generally we mourn, right? Usually we cry, we mourn when someone dies, and that's the halacha. We have to mourn them. But in the time of epidemic, when we shouldn't be afraid, we shouldn't be overly depressed. He says that we revert to the normal way, and this is a very radical thing to say, but he says that we shouldn't even mourn that much. In other words, if someone passes away, we should do the basic mourning, but not to become overly worked up and upset. He says, "V'gam lishmor ha'anhaga es asher yorunu chachmi harofim." He says we have to be very careful to follow what the doctors say. We follow doctors according to the halacha, right? The halacha is that you have to listen to the doctors. And this is the line I want to read. V'hanisayon horanu b'yamim cholfim asher gavar rachmana litzlan hamachla limeod. He says we know from past bitter experience, right? In other words, this is the second time he's already writing about an epidemic. And he says we know from our bitter experience in the past that anyone who listened to the doctors and ate, like kol asher nasa shichmo lisbol ol hanhagas harofim ba'achila. So anyone who listened to the doctors and ate, like a wise person and not like a fool, lo nirabo nego machla, they did not suffer from this epidemic. So Rav Yisrael Salanter is very clear over here that we have to listen to the doctors, whatever they tell us. And he tells us that from his experience, anyone who listened to the doctors was saved. All his life, he was proud of his ruling that he had told people to eat. He felt that he had saved lives, and he never backtracked from this position. And when it comes to mourning, to the laws of Shiva over here, he tells us also that all we have to act based on the doctors. Ein laharbos b'mrirus b'yamim hakdoshim. He says we shouldn't mourn overly much. So here we have two very radical halachic rulings from Rav Yisrael Salanter. One is that if anyone's lives are in danger, then the whole community should eat on Yom Kippur. And the second one is that if people are dying and it becomes too burdensome to mourn each person properly, then even the laws of mourning are somewhat suspended, all in an effort to protect lives. So in Yirtzeh Hashem, hopefully we won't have to deal with any of these. We won't have much Shiva going on here. And really, really, hopefully we won't be dealing with any of this by the time Yom Kippur comes around. But it is just a reminder for us in less dire circumstances. We have better medicine. We have better advice from doctors. We have more scientific knowledge. And I think we caught this much earlier than they caught that back in the day. So in much less dire circumstances, it's a reminder for us of how important it is to listen to the doctors and to follow their advice. And we have here one of the great Jewish leaders telling us that. So refuah shalema to all the sick people out there. And we really hope that it won't infect us in our community at all. All right. Thank you all for joining us. It's really a pleasure to learn with everyone, and I hope to see you all in person soon. All right. Good night.